Hello and welcome to another episode of Chatting Films with Coffee with me, Simon Harkness, and my good friend and co-host, Mike Elkins. How are you, mate?
Very good, mate. Thank you very much. It doesn't seem like very long ago that we were here doing exactly this.
I know.
After what seemed like a lifetime away from it, episodes 3 and 4 have come like buses, haven't they?
They have, yeah. London buses.
Yeah.
It's basically, we're recording this a little bit earlier because there's some events in the calendar which aren't to be missed.
Not for me, by the way. I have nothing on this week. My week's very boring.
Well, you say that. You are continuing to roast beans. Mike sent me a picture last night. Friends send each other a variety of pictures. Mine and Mike's at the moment seems to be very heavily bean related.
Bean and burger.
Yeah.
And barbecue sauce.
That's true, yeah. I sent Mike a picture of a barbecue sauce I just invested in, and it was a game changer, let me tell you.
Every burger needs a good sauce. Maybe we should set up a different podcast. Like Rate My Burger. That could be something altogether different. That sounds very dodgy, I must admit.
I mean, I'm up for it. Once this goes down the pan.
Yeah. There's the next one. We can just roll off the rank. It's absolutely fine. Yeah.
So yeah, tell me about your roasting. The picture you sent me looked a much healthier roast.
Happier, much happier. Yeah. So this is the Mexican bean again, the Nairita, which has previously been a touch troublesome. It's either been like vastly acidic or so bitter it was almost undrinkable. But I found that before the beans were either a little too anemic or absolutely burnt to hell. So I kind of went in the middle and plumped for a 7-minute roast, and I haven't tried them. I'm gonna leave it probably until tomorrow just to let them kind of settle a bit. But looks good, smells like chocolate, so that can't be a bad thing, right?
No, very good.
So
one of the things I look for in a coffee is the chocolatey tasting notes. So I'm excited to hear all about it. Are you, because you're a black coffee drinker, are you going for a filter or are you going for an espresso?
Well, predominantly I bought because they are a very good filtered bean. I think because of the strong flavor, the filter will naturally bring out the flavor, make it slightly crisper. Although I know we were talking earlier, was it yesterday or today? I can't remember now, about using them and putting them through an espresso machine and just having them as a shot. And I think that might work as well. I'm not going to latte it or anything like that, I don't think.
I guess the flavor profile lends itself well to the black coffee. I think maybe it'd be very interesting to see what it is with some milk added to it, because it's got such a complex variety of tasting notes. I feel like it might lose itself somewhat when you add it with milk.
Yeah, I mean, I might oddly try it with some oat milk just to see kind of what happens there, because that's kind of like a warm hug in a glass, oat milk. So I'm thinking that maybe a slightly smoky flavored bean could go quite nicely with the oat milk. But if the bean's any good, and then I have my timings down, then I will then start to experiment with the finish and seeing kind of how it works best. But the roaster I got them from suggested a filter, but I think you were right, and I think they'll make a really nice espresso.
Yeah, it would just be interesting to try it out. Roasting is such a trial and error process anyway. Yes. So I guess if you're at a point where you've mastered what you think is the nicest roast, then you can start playing around with how you're going to be drinking the coffee. And then once you've mastered that, again, play around with the roast a little bit, see if 10 seconds here or there makes a massive difference, which I'm sure it will.
See, I do enjoy a cortado, so maybe that would be the kind of the entry point for me with the milk. So yeah, it's going to be fun to play around with it. I'm looking forward to it.
When you think of a cortado, how would you describe it? Because I got asked this the other day, and for me, a cortado is somewhere in between a piccolo and a flat white.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could. For me, the perfect cortado is probably a double shot with literally a dribble of milk.
Okay.
So it just takes the edge. I think closer to a short flat white, effectively.
Yeah, because
you're more from the barista side of things, and obviously your understanding of that is maybe slightly greater than mine.
So I would say that it comes from, in terms of the the scale of progression, without sounding like a
pretentious prick.
Yeah, pretentious prick, exactly. So it's like it starts off as a ristretto, then an espresso, then a macchiato with literally the tiniest bit of foam on it. Then that turns into piccolo, cortado, flat white, latte, cappuccino. That's the sort of evolution. So for me, I do wake up with a cortado or a flat white, but again, with a cortado, for me, I'd be looking to make it with a ristretto, just so you don't get the added bitterness that comes with the espresso shot. If you cut it a little bit shorter, you get a much punchier, sharper taste from the espresso. But I think I've developed quite a sharp, punchy palate.
Well, that's it. I suppose the same goes for, like, I roast to my taste. So there's nothing saying that the roast that I took closer to the second crack last week wouldn't actually be more to your taste. Whereas the 7 minute suits me perfectly. But if someone really enjoys a slightly more acidic kind of grapefruity flavor, then the first one that I did that for me was almost undrinkable actually could be quite pleasing. It's like, it's everything. It's like you think of like beer, ale is the prime example now. You have sour ales, you have like your thick porter type ales, and there is something for everybody out there.
Yeah, definitely.
But I guess it's just for you, making coffee that you would want to drink.
Yeah, that's kind of how I look at it. But we digress once again. I'd love having these chats with you about roasting and espressos, and it's great.
Yeah, if I think back now to kind of where I was maybe 2 years ago in my coffee journey, I had literally no real understanding. I knew what I liked. Then from reading around it, reading into it a little bit more, it is a fascinating subject.
It is.
I think you don't suddenly stop liking coffee, I don't think. If you enjoy drinking the slightly more, specialist coffees, you're suddenly not going to wake up and think, actually, no, I need to go back to Gold Blend.
We sound like such snobs, but you know what? If you want to wake up every Saturday and have yourself a good coffee, then what's wrong with that?
Yeah, but I do still have mass-produced supermarket coffee when I'm in a hurry. If I don't have time to do what I need to do and grind stuff, then I will have some supermarket coffee, and it does the job. It wakes me up.
That's very open-minded of you, mate.
Yeah.
Well, on the final thing about coffee, what are you drinking today?
Today I am Kenyan.
Oh,
very blackcurranty. It's a small batch from Small Batch again.
Nice.
Yep. Done in the V60 today, not in the AeroPress.
Nice. Well, mixing up a bit. I've gone exactly the same as I did last week. It's a fully fledged member of the Colombian community. Tasting notes of rose, butterscotch, and white chocolate. So it's very good. So film. No reviews for you this week, guys. But we are going to be chatting a lot about films that are coming up, and in particular, films that are starring a particular leading man, and that is Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, that's what we should I think that's what we need to call this episode.
Joaquin Phoenix.
The Joaquin Phoenix episode. Yeah, very, very imaginative.
Quickly, your thoughts on Joaquin Phoenix, Mike?
My thoughts? Okay, well, as in what I have enjoyed him in.
Either that, or what you think about his lifestyle. He's fair to say he's not your typical man on screen.
I can't say I've studied him hugely. As I was saying before we started recording, I think because he's done so many, the kind of the indie under the radar films, he's someone definitely, but he's not necessarily someone that I've not spent a great deal of time watching his films and everything else. But for me, there's two films that he's done which jump out as that I enjoyed, and I enjoyed more because he was in them. Mm-hmm. One of them, if he wasn't in it, probably the film wouldn't exist, which is Walk the Line.
Okay.
I'm a fan of biopics as a rule, and I think he was able to portray Johnny Cash brilliantly. I mean, he was Oscar nominated for it, which, is a nod to he's done a decent job.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, Johnny Cash, he had his struggles, and I think Joaquin Phoenix showed them off perfectly. Kind of really did give off the impression that this was someone who was not at all comfortable with their fame, and with his use of stimulants and drugs and everything else, just to kind of get through what was this increasing sort of public focus. I think he played it exceptionally well, and the role seemed quite natural to him. It didn't look like he was playing a character, which I think as an actor is probably what you strive for, I guess.
Yeah, I think to me that separates the good from the great. The greats are the ones who you forget that it's an actor playing this role.
Yeah, they just sort of assume the personality of that individual.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the other one is Gladiator, bizarrely.
I knew you were going to say Gladiator.
I think that the Commodus, the character that he played, he's a pretty nasty, but he's not the nicest character in the world. He's quite slimy. He's obviously kind of hell-bent on power. He's a ruthless chap. But
often gets overlooked that he is trying to have it away with his sister.
Yeah. But I believe such things were not necessarily taboo back in back in the day.
I would have just written that bit out. I'd been like, well, yeah, we already know he's a prick. You don't need to.
But this is the final nail in the coffin. But he does play sort of an incestuous supervillain very well. Yeah. And so I think for me, those two films.
I think in Gladiator, he basically it's one of those performances where you can't take your eyes off him. It's the sliminess of that character.
That's it.
It's skin crawling, really.
But again, he becomes Commodus, doesn't he? He becomes the character. Yeah. You don't think, oh, that's Joaquin Phoenix dressed as a Roman.
True.
He becomes the character.
Yeah, I think he's taken a very interesting route into I guess he's now essentially one of the most popular actors in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder though if that does kind of mirror his slightly more reclusive lifestyle, in the sense that he doesn't necessarily he didn't want that sort of super fame through being in the Hollywood spotlight. He could gain the respect of his peers quite nicely doing what he was doing whilst living a life of relative, simplicity and reclusiveness.
When you consider Gladiator was, 99, 2000? It was a long time ago. I think my two favourite recent performances of his would be Her, which was 2013, I think, so about 5 years ago now. And also You'll Never Really Hear, which I saw, I think, in January or February of this year. He's magnificent in both, especially You Will Never Really Hear. He's difficult to watch. So it's interesting. I wanted to bring up Joaquin Phoenix because this week we've obviously seen the first official images of the Joker. And so I wanted to kind of sort of discuss him, his career. Have you seen the pictures of the Joker?
I have. I'm looking at them right now.
What do you think?
Interesting.
It is, isn't it? He looks more like he should be in a Harry Potter film.
Yeah, I think maybe that's just the way that it's kind of lit and the makeup and everything else.
It's quite unspectacular.
But I think maybe that's what they're going for.
Absolutely.
Because have you seen that there is this? There is the video attached. Have you seen the video?
Yes.
So the silent video and just the movement and everything else. It's like he is just this kind of creepy, almost just sort of down and out kind of character. Nothing spectacular about him whatsoever.
And you know what? It's already captivating. So.
Yeah, and you're just watching him. But like even in the video, he just looks. Yeah, there's nothing much to him, but he's quite menacing. It's going to be a very, very different Joker to anything that you could that I think we've seen before.
I think that's the way it has to be, really, doesn't it? It's sort of we mentioned it in one of the first episodes, the sort of regeneration of the Joker.
Yes.
And how I feel like they have to be played differently every time it's brought to screen. One thing that is doing the rounds at the moment is the fact that the Joker now has a name.
Yes.
Arthur, for anyone who is
a bit
Arthur
confused. Fleck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because one of the great things about the Joker is that the elusive character, and everything about him makes you question, who is this guy? Sure. Now, if he actually has an identity, it kind of loses it a bit. But hey, I'm willing to let Todd Phillips guide me on this one.
Well, I was about to say that kind of Todd Phillips, I think he may be the perfect guy for the job, because, I mean, you look at, say, his acting career, for example, he just plays odd characters, slightly oddball, freakish characters who, and I think he's maybe got the mindset to create the Joker to be something completely difficult. And I think he is going to be very hard to watch. I don't think it's going to be necessarily particularly pleasant. Which for me, that's what I want to see in my Joker. I want to see someone who is uncomfortable.
I think there will obviously be some humor involved as well, because you can't look at Todd Phillips. There's obviously going to be humor in it, which I think you need from a Joker anyway, because at the end of the day, he is the clown, isn't he? He's the clown prince of Gotham, so there needs to be humor in it. And be nice to see Joaquin Phoenix doing some comedy, which you haven't associated with him recently. And on that subject, linking in Joaquin Phoenix to another film, it's coming out in a few weeks' time. Don't worry, he won't get far on foot. I always want to put in a very. Don't worry, he won't get very far.
Yeah.
But it is not. Great title, great cast, great director. Mike, I'm going to list you off everyone who's associated with this film.
Please do.
Obviously, Joaquin Phoenix, covered. Yep. Jonah Hill.
Yep.
Rooney Mara.
Yep.
Jack Black.
Yep.
Helmed and directed by Gus Van Sant. Does that not make you want to go see that film?
Well, yeah. I watched the trailer for this yesterday, and I found myself getting very excited halfway through. It just, I don't know, it felt like a film that I'm really going to enjoy. It looks like Napoleon Dynamite, just with a little bit more sense, maybe. I mean, Gus Van Sant, he directs probably my favorite ever film in Elephant. So naturally, and he just doesn't make crap films. He makes very good films. The actors who he works with love working with him, just because of I think the freedom that he gives them to just kind of take on the role. And with that cast, I think you're onto an absolute winner. It's going to be I think it's a huge film.
I think so. And with not a huge amount of hype around it. For people who aren't familiar with the film, I'll quickly read out the synopsis. From acclaimed filmmaker Gus Van Sant comes a witty and perceptive new film based on the remarkable true story of cartoonist John Callahan. After Portland slacker John Callahan nearly loses his life in a car accident, the last thing he intends to do is give up drinking. But when he reluctantly enters treatment with encouragement from his girlfriend, obviously Rooney Mara, and charismatic sponsor, of course, Jonah Hill, Callahan discovers a gift for drawing edgy, irreverent newspaper cartoons that develop a national following and grant him a new lease of life. So it's ticking all the boxes for me. I love it.
Yeah.
I love a true story. It's almost like a coming-of-age story. Good to see Jonah Hill doing some more comedy with that. He
looks really, really good in the trailer as well. I think I saw like a 6-minute featurette on it, and I think the relationship that he built with Gus Van Sant, I think, is going to lead to a very strong performance from him. He can go between that light relief and that kind of serious delivery. I really like Jonah Hill. I've liked him since Superbad. I think I just enjoy him as a person. We'd obviously forgetting Sarah Marshall we spoke about, Get Him to the Greek. I'm just pleased he now has that slightly more serious ability to play multiple roles, different types of role now, because you're going to see him in different stuff. It can only be a good thing.
I think so. I rewatched Wolf of Wall Street recently, and when I first saw it, I wasn't that enamored by his performance, but when I watched it again, I was like, actually, this is a very, very good comedy comedy performance from him. I didn't buy it a huge amount when I first saw it. I loved the film, but I didn't necessarily think it was one of his best performances. But
Okay.
yeah, now I'm eating humble pie.
For me, I think he's probably one of my favorite actors currently working.
Well, that's a big shout.
I don't know. I just find there's something quite relaxing. If I know he's in a film, it's that kind of, a safe pair of hands.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, just his name will definitely go and make me see him film.
Yeah.
That he's in. Another one of those is Rooney Mara. Fantastic actress. I hope she doesn't miss out too much on this film.
Yeah.
The classic, just a supportive girlfriend.
Yeah, which I guess, it's true. They can get that kind of that role. They just sort of pop up every now and again.
Yeah. She deserves more than that. There's a starring role in everything she's in.
She's a huge talent in her own right, isn't she, at the end of the day?
So that is, don't worry, he won't get far on foot. I'm really excited to go see it. And another film I'm excited to talk about is A Star is Born. Making his directorial debut is Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Starring Bradley Cooper, shock, and Lady Gaga, which is a shock.
Gaga.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you said we were talking about that this week, I didn't know what to make of it. I hadn't heard a fat lot about it, I must admit. It's not the sort of film that I would generally look into. But I watched a few things and a few interviews, and I think I'll go and see it. I think it's kind of my type of musical, shall we say. It's not all based around singing and dancing and how lovely life is. It's not a Les Mis kind of musical. It's, there's a proper plot line there. Okay, it's a remake, like for the fourth time of an old story, but it's a good story. It's the kind of, it's that kind of love and frilly kind of romance, but then there's the whole kind of the drugs and everything else and that kind of element to it as well. I think Bradley Cooper, I think he's got a future in the directing thing. I think everything that he seems to have, from what I've seen of this film, it looks excellent. It looks really, really good.
He seems to be completely at home behind the camera. We put up a couple of clips of A Star is Born on the Verge website, so check that out immediately. No, but check it out when you get a chance.
Wait for us to finish this first, and then.
Exactly. It just looks, the relationship and the chemistry between the two characters looks very, very good. And sort of the way it's been shot, I think you're right. It looks like he's going to have a very successful career behind the camera. I wonder if maybe he's played it slightly safe by making a remake his first directorial debut. Having said that, any superhero film you go see, that's a remake of the same film.
I guess there would be an element of risk though, because maybe he's done the remake, but I think it has to do justice to the other three, the other three versions. And there's an element of risk in it, definitely.
It's interesting because it has received 5-star reviews all across the board.
Yeah.
So Rotten Tomatoes, which is obviously a huge, huge website, but if you're listening to this, it's because you like film, you know that already. But I don't tend to go too much on Rotten Tomatoes. But 5 stars on Rotten Tomatoes, 5-star Empire, but 5 stars from The Guardian. It has just been so well received. Standing ovations at Venice Film Festivals, which left Gaga in tears. I don't necessarily like musicals, but I am a big fan of Bradley Cooper, and the amount of work he puts in to his performances, you can bet your bottom dollar he's going to double that being behind the camera. So
that's what I was going. It's going to be meticulous, isn't it? It's going to be the preparation, and everything's going to be exactly how he wanted it.
Absolutely.
And I think I'd be quite excited about seeing this film.
I think it's going to be a great date movie.
Yeah, and I think the music, from what I've heard, the music seems actually quite catchy. It's quite good. It's the sort of thing that you would happily listen to anyway, which immediately makes it far more accessible in terms of it being a musical. Yeah,
definitely. And really nice to hear Bradley Cooper singing. He's got a great voice, as
he does
Gaga. So it's going to be definitely one to watch out for. That is released very, very soon, and we do have clips on the Verge website, so check those out. That is A Star Is Born. So that is what is coming up. What has been released 10 years ago is the question.
Well, we're really sort of, I'd say we're scraping the barrel, but we're really not. It's been such a good year. Well, it was such a good year.
10 years ago, it was such a
10
great
years
year.
ago, it was a great year. I wish I could remember it. So for me, I would like to talk a brief while about Burn After Reading.
Okay. Coen Brothers?
Coen Brothers, yep. So it was 2007, they won pretty much every award going for No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
So this was their follow-up to that. Very different film. And I think because it followed that, it was not necessarily seen as being that good. The Coens are always great at making films that are not the easiest to watch, but funny by and large. And this is certainly funny. But you can't just kind of just sit there and take it in. It has, you got to concentrate a little bit. And this in particular, I don't know. I mean, Burn After Reading, if you've seen it in the last 10 years, I don't know. I mean, again, the cast is tremendous. George Clooney, who works with the Coen Brothers, I think 3 of their films he's worked on. John Malkovich and Brad Pitt. So Clooney and Malkovich both had roles written specifically for them when the Coen Brothers were writing the film.
Imagine having that situation. Just like, the Coen Brothers have written a part especially for me.
Just for you, yeah. And if you don't do it, then the whole film's not going to happen. So, you need to agree to do this. And then, Tilda Swinton, she's in it as well.
I always forget she's in it.
Yeah. She looks just like an ice queen in everything that she does. But for me, it is just very typical Coen Brothers. Like, I don't think they would have given a damn about any of the negative reviews that came out off the back of it. I think anybody watching it needs to forget the successes that they had previously and see it for what it is, which is it's a real kind of satirical punch in the face to the American public, and I think probably to the sort of Washington DC and the kind of the shady goings on that happens around there. I mean, Brad Pitt's character as a personal trainer way over his head in some CIA business is ridiculous. It is ridiculous, and every single character in the film is mad. They all have their own problems, and I think that's what people found difficult about it, is that each character was so weird that it kind of drew away from the actual plot, which isn't the strongest. But as a standalone Coen Brothers film, ticks the boxes for me. I mean, my favorite is probably Lebowski, I think. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is also a winner. And I think any film that is, any year that has a Coen Brothers film in it, I think needs to be mentioned, certainly. I think there was a fact, I was reading up on it, and I think the one fact that, so Tilda Swinton, her hair was modelled on Edna Crabapple, the teacher from
The Simpsons.
From The Simpsons. So I think that just kind of sums up the oddness of the film. And it's great. And oddly, did you know a strange bit of trivia that Roderick Jaynes, who edited the film, who was nominated for an Oscar for No Country for Old Men and for Fargo, doesn't actually exist.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's the Coen Brothers, they edit all of their own films under the pseudonym of Roderick Jaynes.
That has blown my mind. That's
they're an interesting bunch. I've got a book with whatever, I think it was called, like, Whatever Happened to the Coen Brothers, and it starts off talking about their death. And at one point, it was so convincing that I genuinely thought they had died.
That sums them up perfectly, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
That sort of dark humor, witty, satirical. It is interesting that you say you feel like it suffered from being released after No Country for Old Men. I always want to say it for old Greg. And that is so definitely not right.
That would be a very, very different film.
I'm on Greg.
Maybe we should pitch that to Noel Fielding. See what he says.
He'd surely be up for it.
I'm sure.
So budget of 37 million for Burn After Reading. Box office, it took $163 million. So absolutely smashed it over box office. But it is sadly known as probably not one of their greatest.
It's not. It really polarizes like fans. Some love it. Some it's okay, and others, like some people, genuinely hate it. It is very dark. It's like the comedy is so kind of hidden that you need to really watch it. The throwaway lines are great. The throwaway lines are really interesting. Just everything about it is bizarre, but thoroughly enjoyable for me personally. Yeah.
Well, I sadly sit in the middle. I'm a bit of a fence sitter in this particular Coen brothers film.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily get their films like particularly, but I absolutely respect what they do. I've just never been that enamored with it, and especially Burn After Reading. But No Country for Old Men is an absolute masterpiece, as is The Big Lebowski.
Yeah, Fargo's great as well.
Of course, yeah. So, and I'm certainly not going to be the one to question their career.
No, quite.
But
I just felt that I couldn't go through reviewing 2008 without mentioning it at least.
Absolutely, no, fair enough, mate. I want to finish, if I may, Mike, by talking about film Twitter.
Okay.
Film and Twitter seem to have coincided hugely. Yes. I guess everyone is a critic these days, which is good, and it's also bad. I feel like film Twitter sometimes focuses rather too much on the negative. Something that has really grabbed my attention recently, though, is a Twitter account called Script to Screen. Are you familiar?
I am.
Great, isn't it?
Enjoyable. I mean, I wouldn't say that I follow it religiously, but when I see them, I know recently they had a Pulp Fiction, like the kind of the opening to Pulp Fiction in the diner, which for me it's the whole kind of "I love you, honey bunny" section is absolutely iconic. So it's just fascinating to see the script, and I really it's such a good idea.
It is. I mean, for anyone who is very confused about what we're talking about, Script to Screen is a Twitter account that literally plays your favorite in many of my favorite films, various scenes of my favorite films, and it is basically sits on top of the script, and so the script is scrolling along whilst you're seeing one of your favorite scenes from a film, and it's great to watch. It's a real insight to basically see how these films were written.
It's essentially like film karaoke,
kind of. Yeah, I mean, but instead of Donna on reception belting out Adele, you've got Sam Jackson reading Tarantino's lines.
Yes, yeah, which is infinitely better. I've got it on my screen now, and so they've got the DiCaprio scene from Django.
That was the one I wanted to really talk about, because a couple of weeks ago, Script to Screen did the Django dinner scene where DiCaprio realizes that Christoph Waltz and Jamie Foxx are basically trying to mug him off, and he catches onto it, and it basically captures the scene where DiCaprio smashes his hand on the table and cuts himself, and that was genuine Leo DiCaprio blood, which he wipes on Kerry Washington's face. So yeah, definitely worth checking them out.
I wonder if she's washed it off yet. I don't think I would.
I wouldn't. Just get it, or maybe just get the outline tattooed on your face and be like, oh, well, it's just the exact handprint of Leonardo DiCaprio.
The blood of Leonardo DiCaprio. Yeah. No, I'm flicking through it now, and it's such a simple idea, but it kind of adds an extra dimension. I've got the opening scene to It.
Ooh.
where George is about to get himself pulled down the drain.
Original It or remake?
No, remake It. So 2017 It. And yeah, I mean, one, I love it. I think it's probably Pennywise is truly frightening. But yeah, it's quite nice just to follow the wording as you kind of see the action going on.
Pennywise is less gimmicky in the remake, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the sequel.
So, what a cast!
Yeah, incredible. Have you read the book?
Beth has. I haven't.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed the bit that the second half is based on. I enjoyed more than the first.
Well, it's very much first sets it up, and then
yeah. And Bill Skarsgård is phenomenal, I think.
Very good at playing a killer clown.
You'd thought, yeah, he's found his niche.
He's genuinely terrifying.
Yeah.
But no, guys, I would heartily recommend following Script to Screen. I find it fascinating. I'm sure many other people do as well, just to see how the scripts make it onto the screen. It's brilliant to watch, and seeing the actors bring the characters to life.
Yeah.
So check them out, Script to Screen on Twitter. And that is it. That is it. We've wrestled through a lot of content today. So thank you for staying.
We have, haven't we? We have. I mean, impressive considering it feels like we were only recording episode 3 yesterday, but it wasn't.
It was about 2 days before. Yeah. Literally. So I think I need a bit of a break from you, Mike. I won't lie.
So what are we saying? What, another month off?
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah. Dubrovnik is calling.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, this time of year would be great. Cool. Well, thank you so much for listening, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you as always, Mike.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's nice to, although we didn't have a review, I feel that we've actually covered more content this week.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have a review for you next week. But if not, the content will still be killer.
That's very Partridge.
Yeah. Intended Partridge. That's another great Twitter account, Unintentional Partridge.
Yeah.
Check that out. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Hit us up on Twitter. I am at Simon Harkness TV. Mike, you are?
I don't even know. Mike Elkins 86.
There we go. And we're now on iTunes. Yay! So listen to us and get in touch. And thank you so much for listening.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.